families, or provide humanitarian aid to their fellow citizens in times of need. They depend on the sacrifice and support of their families and their employers here at home. Without this support, the citizen warriors of the Guard and Reserve could not carry out their mission. From local fire departments and police stations, to businesses large and small, whether serving our country or supporting those who do, we all serve.
Beautiful. Mr. Gary?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday. We have a good crowd. I have over probably 80 plus people on our meeting for today. And as Jerry said in some of the other comments earlier today, this Zoom thing in meeting seems to be working out, unfortunately, but yet fortunately for everybody in our business today. So anyway, that being said, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gary Pyatt, proud chairman of the Aventura Marketing Council Chamber of Commerce, and we welcome you to our annual, although this year virtual, military meeting, Salute to the Military. We're honored to have, as spoke a few minutes earlier, Rear Admiral Larry Watkins with us today as our keynote speaker. And to that, we thank our longtime friend and supporter, Peter Kaspari of the Florida Outreach Director for the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. Otherwise, we know it as the ESGR, which is part of the Department of Defense. So thank you so much for all of your support and helping to coordinate this meeting for us today, Peter. We also, as we've had in the last couple of meetings, and it is, again, unfortunate, but yet fortunate, I use that term in the most positive sense, as this, with everything that's going on, has brought our neighboring Chamber of Commerces together, where the only time we really collaborated to any great degree was if we were really trying to push an issue or if we showed up at somebody else's meeting, for lack of a better term. So to that, I wanted to also thank our fellow and partner chambers, the Coral Gables Chamber, the Dania Beach Chamber, the Miami Beach Chamber, Miami-Dade, North Miami Beach, South-Dade, and the Greater Miami and Beaches Hotel Association for not only your support, but for advertising and participating with our meeting this afternoon. I also wanted to recognize several officials that are with us online, as you see their faces today. Our good friend, Senator Jason Pizzo, and we look forward to you speaking in a minute, and thank you for all of your support, Senator Pizzo. From the city of Aventura, Mayor Enid Weissman, Vice Mayor Howard Weinberg, and Commissioners Dr. Linda Marks and Gladys Mizrahi. From the city of Sunny Isles Beach, we have with us today Vice Mayor Larissa Savechin, Commissioner Alex Lama, and we also have, that joined us just a few minutes ago, Commissioner Jennifer Viscara. Two more people that I'd like to introduce is one, my longtime predecessor. He's somewhere here. I think I heard his voice earlier, but for 13 years, the chairman of the board of the Aventura Marketing Council Chamber of Commerce and a veteran, Cliff Schulman from Weiss, Sirota, and Healthman. And our gratitude as always, and I hope he's feeling much better, and that is our uncomparable Zoom administrator. I don't see his picture on my thing, but Michael Stern, for being our administrator for every single one of our numerous meetings that we have had. I also wanted to introduce Vice Mayor who's on us. I do see him on the camera, and that is Vice Mayor Billy Joel, former Vice Mayor Billy Joel from the city of Aventura, and our Florida State Rep and School Board member, Dr. T. Holloway. I also really quick wanted to thank our participating supporter for today. I mentioned him before, and that is Peter Kaspari from the ESGR. But without our two and long time and supporters of this particular program every single year that we have done it in person, our two sponsors today, meeting sponsors, Memorial Healthcare Systems and FPL. Although we have a full agenda today, and we're all waiting for our Rear Admiral Larry Watkins to give us words of encouragement and some profound words as I see him on the screen here in front of me. The chat room will be open. We won't have time today to go through the chat room as Michael always does and answer questions and back and forth, but Michael will be monitoring the chat room. So if you do have any comments or things, just enter those in the chat room and we'll get to them as best we can. That all being said and done, I want to sincerely thank our Rear Admiral, Larry Watkins, for taking the time, participating, our sponsors for today, and again, Peter, for helping us to put this together. With that being said, on my part, I'd like to turn the meeting over now, at least for a greeting, to our Mayor of Aventura, Mayor Enid Weissman. Mayor?
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you. And everybody, welcome to the meeting. It's so good to see so many people from all over Dade County and close to us in Broward County. It really confirms that we're all one community, and what impacts one of us impacts all of us. I do have to give a shout out to Don Susnick, to Eric Knowles, and to Mark Taubridge. Good friends, good work in their cities, good work for the county, always, always, always. I also want to say, you know, this is our salute to the military. And we can say the military is important, and we can say that we appreciate the military, but there actually are businesses that go out of their way to hire veterans. And I want to give a real shout out to those businesses, and I'll do it as fast as I can, but Able Business Services, American Maritime Officers Plans, Center State Bank, FP&L, and as we can tell today, Hotwire Communications, Memorial Health System, Miami Beach Police Department, big supporters of the military, and PS Mortgage Lending. Our vets say thank you to you. The community says thank you to you, and we need to get more businesses committed to hire people that have put their lives on the line for us. I have two introductions to make today, and it's really kind of nice when you get to introduce your friends, people you really know, and you're not handed a little script 2 minutes before the meeting. And the first is, as the vice mayor of Aventura said, the hardest working senator in Tallahassee, our very own Jason Pizzo. If you are not a friend of his on Facebook, I would tell you, please become one. If you want to know what's going on in Tallahassee, what's happening with CARES dollars, what's happening with the budget, why people aren't getting their unemployment. I really think I'm serious. I think he never works less than 16 to 18 hours a day. He's part of my family. I love him, and I want to present Jason Pizzo.
Thank you, Ann Enid. I'll be ever so brief because the floor and the appreciation celebration should be for the military. Just as a point of privilege, I'm a native of New Jersey, and I made my way down to Miami, probably imbued with a lot of family stories. My great uncle Dan Checky was assigned to the 113th Infantry at a Rear Admiral Watkins home state of Pennsylvania. He served valiantly for several years, was lost in the Hurtgen Forest for a while and pronounced dead, but then showed up alive. And the reason the Miami connection is because when he was honorably discharged at Fort Dix in 1945, he took advantage of something that was newly enacted called the GI Bill and came down to the University of Miami and graduated in 1952 with his law degree, a small kid from North Jersey. So I proudly also serve on the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee in the Florida State Senate, where we do our best to improve the infrastructure and surrounding ambient areas of state control as it relates to our 21 bases. I'm delighted to even be mentioned on this Zoom call with the Rear Admiral. I look forward to hearing, I'm sure, his wisdom and his kind words. And again, thank you, sir, and all of the men and women for your service.
Thank you, Senator. The next person, and it really is humbling, and it really is a privilege. He happens to be the manager of a small little city a little bit south of us called Miami Beach. And this is where hometown boy really makes good. Jimmy Morales the manager of the city of Miami Beach, grew up on Miami Beach, graduated Beach High. I'll embarrass him if I tell you all the awards that he won. A Story of America, a first generation person going to college and getting the degrees and going to law school. And I won't mention that he went to Harvard. And I won't mention that now he's in the job of his life back on Miami Beach. Jimmy, the passion that you have and the wisdom and knowledge that you have make you incomparable. I really want to thank you, and I want to introduce you to everyone and ask you to say a few words.
Edith, thank you so much. Being on the screen, I'm blushing now, so I'm embarrassed, but thank you for that great introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all today, even if it's only virtually. I want to thank Gary, Elaine, and the Avatar Marketing Council for hosting this important salute to the military, this, I guess, virtual luncheon today, and actually for their leadership for years. I've had an opportunity in various phases of my life to interact and attend many an Avatar Marketing Council meeting, and I know they've provided great leadership, not just in Aventura, but obviously regionally and countywide. You know, obviously the topic of military service seems to be sort of a hot topic these days. I don't care what your background is, what party you belong to, or any other factor. We all know that it is our men and women in military service that keep our nation safe and protect our democracy daily. As someone who's been an elected official and now an administrative leader of a significant municipal corporation like the Beach, I can tell you that some of the finest and most impressive leaders I've met have been folks like Rear Admiral Watkins and others who is our speaker obviously today, and so many other individuals that have dedicated their careers and their lives to our nation's service. We should count ourselves, frankly, fortunate that men and women like these rise to the occasion every day. And that is why when we, and by we, I'm going to presume to speak on behalf of any municipal leader, elected or appointed, when we have the opportunity to actually hire a veteran who has decided to pursue other career paths, we are very excited to bring such talented individuals into our organization. I thank you, Amateur Marketing Council, for acknowledging our police department, led by Chief Rick Clemens. It's no surprise that military first responders often find their way to continue their commitment in a civilian capacity as law enforcement officers. In fact, in his senior command, I know Chief Clemens counts on 2 former U.S. Marines, Assistant Chief Paul Acosta and Major Sammy Guerrero. I was expecting to hear a hoo-ah, to bring the values and skills they learned as soldiers to bear in protecting the residents and visitors of Miami Beach. And I'm sure so many of the other municipal officials here can attest to the same. We are fortunate to have men and women like these and many other veterans serving in our police department. I'm also proud to say that so many veterans not only work as officers at the city, but in many other departments across the city, from our fire department, our park rangers, code compliance, 911 operators. In fact, our chief information officer, who oversees the entire IT operations for the city, Chris Sarandos, is an Air Force veteran who was working in the Pentagon on 9/11 when the plane struck. Tomorrow, as we know, we commemorate, I guess, the 19th anniversary of that attack, and it reminds us of the importance of eternal vigilance at a military level and at a civilian level. And I know Chris has never forgotten that day. I will close by thanking you again for letting me and the city of Miami Beach be part of this wonderful event. I want to acknowledge that our Commissioner, Mickey Steinberg, is represented at this virtual luncheon by our aide, Tati Trefino, and she and her colleagues have given full support to the hiring of veterans, as well as veteran preferences in the procurement process, something I know many cities like ourselves do. And of course, I want to acknowledge and thank Jerry Libin, also a former commissioner in addition, and the Chamber, Miami Beach Chamber, for its leadership, including every year having a breakfast where they recognize our first responders who are heroes. That's also very important. So without further ado, may God bless all of our first responders, military and civilian, and may God bless our great nation. Be well. Thank you. I'll turn it back to you, Anita or Elaine.
Jimmy, thank you, Jimmy, please, for all those kind words and respectfully appreciating everybody and especially our military and what the city of Miami Beach does. And thank you to Mayor Weissman and Florida Senator Jason Pizzo. So on with the meeting, we have 2 sponsors for today, as I mentioned earlier. And on behalf of everyone, we'd like to thank them individually, starting with Chris Ferreira from FPL, and after Chris, followed by our longtime supporter of, as I mentioned earlier, of this event, the Salute to the Military Memorial Healthcare System, and Doug Zarin. Chris, I'll turn it over to you for a minute.
Hi, good afternoon, Gary. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you to the Aventura Marketing Council and the North Miami Beach Chamber for the opportunity to represent FPL and sponsor this event, thanking our military veterans and our current service members. I did want to take just a couple minutes to talk about two things that I think are pretty much in everybody's minds nowadays. And I will talk some stuff about what FPL and our parent company, Next Year Energy, does in terms of supporting our veterans later on in the program. But I did want to talk about hurricane season 2020 and what FPL has been doing for COVID-19 relief for our customers and supporting them. For hurricane season, we remind everybody to please be prepared and be vigilant as we currently have a lot of activity in the Atlantic, but we've been lucky in Florida where we've missed a couple of storms in the last month or so. It's important to stay vigilant because September is the peak of hurricane season, and as you can see, there's a lot of activity going on. But we here at FPL have been preparing. We actually had our storm dry run earlier this year where we incorporated some pandemic influences into it to be prepared in case anything does happen. But we do remain committed to putting the lights back on as quickly as possible and as safely as possible after a storm. The other thing I did want to talk about is if anybody on the call or anybody needs to share with somebody that needs assistance, FPL is here and working with our customers to help in these difficult economic times. We've suspended disconnections for non-payment since mid-March, and we've also been waiving late fees for customers who have been unable to pay their bills. But we've also provided a 25% bill reduction in May that was approved by the Public Service Commission that actually helped us pass along some fuel savings that we had that we would typically do throughout a full 12-month year, but we were able to get a special conditional approval to pass that on in 1 month and provide direct relief to customers. We also have assistance programs that have been available thanks to the CARES Act that customers can take advantage of, but we need our customers to call us and work with us in order to provide them that assistance. And so I'm going to share the number for customers that can call and also the website. The number to call is 1-800-226-3545. Again, 1-800-226-3545. And they can also visit fpl.com/help. Again, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone on the call who has served in our military. We appreciate your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. I'll turn it over to Doug Zarin from Memorial Healthcare System.
So good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to be here for all of the many years that I have had the privilege of being part of the Military Sponsorship Day for Aventura Economic Council. And I just want to comment that I was talking earlier that we just closed down C.B. Smith Park, and we had a relationship with the National Guard where we processed over 150,000 COVID tests, and that our physicians were managing that and getting the results back to the patients. And in the healthcare system, we tested over 125,000 individuals, and we have the molecular laboratory right here at Memorial South, where I'm the CEO, and we had results going back within 24 hours. It took a great effort. There's a lot of frontline heroes that were managing this with their personal protective equipment. And as an acute rehab hospital, we are now managing those patients that are coming off ventilators that are debilitated, and we are doing post-COVID recovery for those patients, and they're doing extremely well. We learned a great deal from the first surge and what we applied in the second surge, and with some very great drugs like remdesivir and just great care that's being developed. And we do have several Navy nurses, Army nurses, respiratory therapists that are on our team that are part of the reserves as well, but as well as being retired. The chief nursing officer at Memorial Hospital West was a Navy nurse on the USS Comfort, or the USNS Comfort. So we are a very proud organization of supporting the community and supporting our military. And I look forward to today to continuing to honor those that have hired and continue to hire the military. And particularly, I'm a board member for Mission United and what we're doing there to support the community as well in this new virtual world that we live in. So thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much, Chris and Doug. And now I'm going to turn it over to Peter Caspary to say a word and introduce our guest speaker, a longtime friend of ours and an individual, as I said earlier, who's been working with the Aventura Marketing Council for many, many years on military outreach programs. It's my pleasure to introduce our participating supporter for today's programs, Peter Caspary, Florida Outreach Director, Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, and as I said, Department of Defense. So I'll turn it over to Peter for a word and introduction of our distinguished speaker today, Rear Admiral Larry Watkins. Peter?
Good afternoon, everybody. Many times I'm asked who and what is ESGR. First, let me share with you that we are all volunteers. Most have a military service background. Our members are volunteer-led and mission-driven to help the service member as well as the employer understand their rights and the laws. ESGR is a Department of Defense program established in 1972 to bring together and promote cooperation and understanding between members of the Guard and Reserves and their civilian employers. Our DoD agency also provides a series of awards to employers and organizations for their support. It's our way of saying thank you for the sacrifices and commitment that you, the employer, make in support of the citizen soldier that you employ. The three core missions of ESGR are supported by committees made up of more than 3,700 volunteers across the country. They bring a vast wealth of experience to assist in serving employers, service members, and their families. Our employer outreach mission works with employers to encourage their support for hiring and retaining service members. And for this, we are truly thankful. Through our military outreach mission, we assist service members to educate them on their rights and responsibilities. Lastly, our ombudsmen provide no-cost neutral mediation services designed to reduce or eliminate conflicts that may arise between a service member and their employer due to members' military duties. Guard and Reserve members are given large responsibilities. As potential employees, it's important to recognize that they bring priceless, transferable skill sets to corporate America through their military training. Our men and women who serve in our military, together with business professionals like you, as well as the over 3,500 ESGR volunteers, we all serve, every one of us, together. And now, you want to flip over? I would like to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, to Rear Admiral Larry Watkins. I'm greatly honored to be able to introduce him today. Rear Admiral Watkins is a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and for many years now has been a Florida resident. He was commissioned through the Missouri Columbia Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps program in December 1990. He also graduated from Webster University in May 2012, where he received his Master of Business Administration degree. Rising through the ranks, Rear Admiral Watkins held numerous Navy command positions. In 1998, he transferred to the Navy Reserve and completed staff and operational tours at U.S. Southern Command and other Navy assignments. He was also assigned to Joint Force Command, Norfolk, as a plank owner, establishing a new North Atlantic Treaty Organization Command. Rear Admiral Watkins earned his Surface Warfare designation in 1992. His decorations include numerous personal, unit, and cane medals and ribbons. Currently, he holds the position of Director, Network Engagement Team at U.S. Southern Command. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big welcome to Rear Admiral Larry Watkins.
Hey, thanks everybody for having me join this morning or this afternoon. I just want to say it's an honor to be here to present to you, a little bit different, but like everybody else, we've been doing Zooms and APANs and all virtual meetings here in the military and across our reserve forces as well. So we've seen that folks can still get the job done even if we're not face to face. Before I get to my remarks, my from the heart remarks based on Ms. Adler's request, I'm going to give you just some of the basic canned speech up front. I want to thank the Admiral Marketing Council and the Chamber of Commerce team, the presenting supporter, Mr. Peter Kaspari. Good to see you again, Peter. And then the sponsors of Memorial Healthcare, FPL, and then the other chambers that have been able to join. And that's the power of technology, is that we can have folks that normally wouldn't make it due to time distance can just sit down and click a button and there you are in another place. So thank you for joining. Once again, I'm Larry Watkins. I've been here in Doral since October of 2019 for my second tour at Southern Command. My previous tour, I was here actually right after 9/11 occurred. I was recalled, mobilized back to Southern Command back in 2001 and spent 10 months doing operations here. But before I get started in my speech, I always like to give a recognition that we remain a country at war, and that we should take a moment of silence to recognize the sacrifice for our service members who are forward in combat zones, forward deployed, and ultimately for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. So please partake in a moment of silence with me. Okay, thank you. The one thing that I think when I hear of, why do you hire reserves or guard personnel is I think about those that have that service built into their DNA, that there's always that desire to serve. And I was a military kid, born into the Air Force family, had my first passport at the age of 6, lived overseas, and you always see things differently when you live in different places. So you can go somewhere and you understand culture, you understand language, you understand people are different, but they're the same, so I saw that early on in life. I was smart enough to join the Navy just because Top Gun came out the year I graduated from high school, and, the white uniform and the need for speed were things that drove me to the Navy. Plus, there's something about pulling into a port when you're on the ship and you're manning the rails, and that ship is a piece of U.S. sovereign territory wherever you go. And that's a pretty neat feeling. But I'm going to just take a couple minutes just to talk about the reserve and guard and, kind of how we got here. Because as an admiral, you always have to have a lesson when you talk, right? People should take away something that they didn't know about, the topic, and certainly something they didn't know about you. So hopefully knowing I was Air Force brat and joined the Navy is a takeaway. And I hope Peter won't hold that against me, but, not everybody can be in the Navy, Peter. So if you think about it, if you look back at the National Guard, they were actually defined as our first initial militia citizen soldiers back in December of 1636. So that's 140 years prior to, getting to the War of Independence, right? So the Army Reserve is in 1908. And then in 1915, we had the Navy, followed by the Marine Corps in 1916. And then the Coast Guard Reserve in 41 as part of the effort for World War II. The Air National Guard was established in 47, and then the Air Force Reserve in April of 1948. And we're still not sure if we're going to have a Space Reserve, but we do have a Space Force. And so that dates back to citizen soldiers existing all that time and juggling kind of the two-pronged lifestyle where you manage a military career and a civilian career, and you try to do both and keep both sides of the fence happy or equally upset with you. So as we look at the future, what we talk about in the reserves is, if your family's not happy with you and your civilian job's not happy and your military job's not happy, then you're in perfect balance, right? So we're not always limited, in what we can do, but part of it is you can't please everybody, so you pick and choose, and typically the family is where you take the most sacrifice, right? Because everybody's willing to give up their own time, their own sleep, and so the family normally suffers. So we say here at Southcom, when you serve, your family serves, and that's the hardest job because the family's not in uniform, right? And they don't have, I can go anywhere in the world and meet somebody else in uniform and there's an instant bond. Families don't always have that, especially, if you move and then the service member leaves and that sort of thing. But I'll tell you a quick bit of my story. So I told you a little bit of how I got in the reserves. I did 8 years of active duty. Then I moved from San Diego to Virginia, decided it was time to get out and try something new. So I started working for a small company. It's called Nextel, moved me to Florida. And then I started to do that balance. And I've been doing it ever since. And it's been, you know, a challenge in some instances, but very rewarding. I can tell you that Reserves Guard personnel are an ambassador to their community. Everywhere you go, it's sort of like, you know, what he said earlier about, if you heard Senator Pizzo talk about his uncle going to Fort Dix, right? So Fort Dix is where I actually happened to go to boot camp as a Navy guy, but it's part of an Army mission. But I went through Army boot camp, but I'm in the Navy. And I think I met Mr. Morales here when the SecDef visited. He came through Southcom, and I got to meet him there. So no matter where you go, the world is smaller than you think. And the Navy, the higher up I go, the smaller it gets. I think it's the same thing in our communities. I think the biggest thing that I look at, especially in the South Florida community in general, is having people in the military brings that instant bond. And then the support that we have in the community. I know we didn't have, you know, Broward Navy Days this year or Seafair or any of those things that we normally have, but I think that everybody still stays connected. So when people ask the question, why should I hire Guard or Reserve? And I think they bring all those things that the military teaches you, the discipline, the focus on mission, you know, the dedication to duty, those things. But I think they also bring other skill sets that you don't always think of right away. And a lot of it is teamwork. You know, in the military, you always have to work as a team. You always have a battle buddy. You're never by yourself. It's never about you. It's about the mission. I think that's important. I also think that the fact the way we train and mentor people is that we always know there's people behind us coming to take the next step. And that's our responsibility to prepare them. And I think even though it's competitive in the civilian workplace, I still think people have that mindset of help out the team because it's better for the company. Help out the team. It gets this job done. And so as we look at kids today that are joining or young adults that are joining the military, that are the centennials, you know, I'm the old man now because I was joining in the 90s. So the kids today join and they look at things a completely different way. You know, this technology to them is great. They've learned their whole life on a screen, you know, so we have to understand that they have that technological advantage. And so if you hire those people, you're going to get that expertise built in, you know. So I think it's important that, you know, everybody always look to advantage or take advantage of the newer skills that are being developed in a competitive, you know, world. And I think that the military helps in that regard. And I think that obviously, you know, trying to keep up with social media and the constant barrage of information is something to manage. And basically, as I'll wrap up, I would just say that, you know, there are some challenges with some of the, you know, military requirements. Sometimes they're not always predictable, but I think if you communicate between the employer and the employee, you can always work it out so that remains a win-win for everybody engaged. I think the employer doesn't want surprises. You know, when I got deployed notified, it was a short notice one, but my second deployment, you know, was 6 months out. And I think our Secretary of Defense is signed into law in essence that if anybody has to get deployed in less than 6 month notice, he has to approve it. And that didn't always happen in the past. So I think there's some balance that's been there to protect both employers and employees. So as I wrap up, I'd just like to say thank you for letting me be a part of this. And Peter, you still owe me some kind of meal out of this. I can't get a virtual meal, but maybe one day we can sit down and have that breakfast. And I look forward to meeting all these great folks who signed in. It's like Hollywood Squares, but appreciate all the support for all these people that are still making their events occur during a pandemic. And I look forward to meeting you all in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral Watkins. It's really great to have you on board here. And, you know, where you've come from in the beginning to now being a Rear Admiral, that's quite an accomplishment, and we wish you all the best. I'm just curious of everybody here, how many of you have ever been in the military or have a family or know somebody that's in the military? Just raise your hand on your screen. Wow, just about everybody. Thank you for all that you've contributed also. And with that, I turn it back over to Doug, or Gary? Gary.
Yes, thank you, Peter, and thank you, Rear Admiral Watkins, for your introduction and bringing us up to date today. Thank you so much. So, Doug and Chris, I'm delighted to turn now the rest of the program, and one of our purposes in that is thanking those organizations and their involvement with the military. I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to you to introduce the businesses we are recognizing as part of today's meeting and for hiring the military. Doug?
Thank you. So I just want to make a quotation that is from General Dwight Eisenhower, our 34th president, and he said, "The supreme quality for leadership is unquestionably integrity. Without it, no real success is possible, no matter whether it is on a section gang, a football field, in an army, or in an office." I'm very proud to introduce the first 4 businesses being honored today for hiring military. Thanks to our participating chambers, we have some outstanding individuals I'd like for you to meet. So let's start with the Able Business Services, nominated by the Miami-Dade Chamber CEO, Eric Knowles. Representing Able Business Services is William Berry, and owner and president. William, we thank you for taking care of the men and women who you have taken care of our freedoms in our nation. Time for you to speak, so thank you very much, William Berry, and owner. William?
William, you around?
He's there. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Berry.
Normally, we would just call you to the stage. Now you have to figure out how to unmute yourself.
What about? Do you hear me?
We hear you. There
We
you
hear
go.
you.
Hey, how you doing, Eric?
Doing
Okay,
great, Mr. Berry.
all right, as I was saying, my name is William Berry, and my company is Able Business Services, and we are located at 1234 Northwest 79th Street. We've been around for about 20 years. I started after I retired from the State Rehabilitation Office. I did 31 years with them. And my passion has always been hiring people with special needs. So it comes to me in terms of hiring veterans, something very easy for me to do. I have with me Mr. Curtis Giles, who's one of my #1 employees. Curtis, say hello.
How you doing?
And Curtis handles our logistics. We have a lot of governmental contracts, and one of our contracts requires to service about 60 locations, and Curtis handles that. In addition to that, Curtis does a lot of metal manufacturing fabrications, I should say, and making of our car care detailing chemicals. We are in the business of doing a lot of different kind of things, inclusive of janitorial, and also making car care detailing chemicals. And Curtis works in that department. We are, I guess, as I said, been in the business 20 years. We have 420 employees. We are growing. We have the Miami-Dade janitorial contract. We have the Miami-Dade transit contract. We have the Miami-Dade parks contract. And we're enthused about being able to position to be able to offer opportunities for persons with special needs like Curtis.
Thank you, William.
Is there anything else? We also have a janitorial business downstairs. We have retail supplies in terms of all PPEs. If you need supplies in terms of masks to gloves, anything like those kind of items, we have those as well, if you require those.
Thank you, William. Doug, next.
So I'm delighted to introduce the American Maritime Officers Plans, nominated by Dania Beach Chamber and CEO Randy Shane. I'm delighted to introduce Steve Nickerson, Executive Director of AMO Plans. Steve is a veteran. As Steve, as a veteran myself, I'd like to know what AMO does to meet one of your military employees. The proverbial microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. The American Maritime Officers Plans. Am I coming through? Okay.
Yes.
It's a 9-acre compound in Dania Beach, where a staff of 136 employees provide training and benefits, including medical and retirement. The compound includes lodging for members and families while in Dania Beach for simulation, training, assessment, and research at the Star Center. Our staff maintains the records of approximately 10,000 lives, including dependents and retirees in all 50 states and around the world. These benefits and training are provided to the American Maritime Officers, the Merchant Marine Officers serving aboard American flag vessels, and they are members of the American Maritime Officers Union. The AMO and the AMOP welcome veterans, both as staff and as seagoing mariners. I would like to introduce you to Tim Palangi, a veteran and a stellar teammate of the American Maritime Officers Plans. Tim was honorably discharged at the end of 1989 as a first-class petty officer after 5 deployments, including service aboard an aircraft carrier as a nuclear plant electrician. He then began his merchant marine career for the AMO as a chief engineer until 2017. Tim now serves as chief engineer of the American Maritime Officers Plans compound and as an instructor in the engine department. We honor Tim as a veteran and for his service to the Merchant Marines. I'll turn it over to Tim now.
Thank you for your glowing recommendations, Steve. I very much appreciate it. And thank you also to the Aventura Chamber, Elaine Adler and everybody there. It is a real honor to be able to participate in this conference. I've been asked to explain how my military background enables me to do my job. In Admiral Rickover's nuclear navy, I was not just an electrician. I was also cross-trained on the operation of the entire engine room, how to start up and shut down the reactors, and in many, many aspects of how the ship operated. So all that cross-training made it very easy for me to segue into the job of third assistant engineer aboard merchant ships. And so my military background was perfect training for this job. And I've been with American Maritime Officers for 30 years this year. And it's always, the union and the plans have always treated me well. So I hope I can return the favor. And I hope to stay in this job till I retire. And as a side note, I hope Steve Nickerson never retires. Thank you very much.
So the next honoree is from the Homestead Police Department and nominated by the South Day Chamber and CEO Rick Berry. It's always an honor to recognize any of our first responders, and our police departments are right up there at the top. Captain Raymond DeJohn from the Homestead Police Department is here with us, and we thank you for what you do and for the department does to protect our community. So I turn it over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Captain Raymond DeJohn, Homestead Police Department. On behalf of Chief Alexander Roll, myself, and the entire command staff and our personnel of the police department, we just want to say thank you for having us, and also thanking all the panel members and guests that may be listening in. Thank you for your service. For those who had served active duty, reserves, or those that just simply support the mission every single day. The Homestead Police Department has enjoyed over the years the benefits of having prior service members. From the chief served during the Vietnam War era towards the tail end of it. Myself, I served during the late 80s, the Cold War era. And we've had officers serving who had served in Desert Storm all the way up through this global war on terror that we have right now. We've had officers that had enjoyed 20 years of military service, retired, and come to work with us. And they've worked for 20 years with the Homestead Police Department, and they've got themselves another retirement. And what we like about that is whether they've done one enlistment or they've done an entire career in the military, we feel, and it's just through my experience itself, is that when you come out of the military into an environment, especially like a police department, you have this sense of service, to know that there is something always bigger than you yourself, that you want to serve the community, a sense of pride in the community that you live in, a sense of pride in the job that you do. So we've always enjoyed that. Many police departments sense that, and they look to hire to veterans. It doesn't matter what skill set you had in the military. It's that basic understanding, that maturity that you get when a young person goes into the military and they come out and they've served one enlistment or two enlistments and they're ready to come back and serve their community. They have this sense of pride about them, this sense of service, and they really are able to step into a leadership position. And that doesn't always mean by virtue of rank. It means that they're going to be a leader within the community. And that's what we want from our officers, is to be leaders in the community, leaders amongst themselves. It's somebody that's going to take charge, that has that can-do sense about them, that there is no task they can't accomplish. And it's basically because of those experiences they've gained. So again, we've had a number of officers that represented all branches of the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, that have worked for us. And we really feel that we get a good benefit of having those individuals here. We currently have 10 of us, including the chief and myself, that are prior military. We have 2 that are in the reserves, and we occasionally lose them to deployments. But it's a burden that we all must share in order to keep this country safe. So, our hats are off to each and every member of our department and any business that does hire veterans, because we feel that it is in the best interest of our communities, and putting our veterans to work and utilize the skill sets and the knowledge and the confidence they have gained by being members of our military. And with that, I want to introduce you to one of our members of the police department who had proudly served. He was a veteran of the Army, and he's a combat veteran, Officer David Raffles.
Thank you, Captain. It's hard to follow that and even the words from the Rear Admiral. So ultimately, it just comes down to, I think what the Rear Admiral said was, it's in our DNA. The service-oriented, mind is in our DNA. We learn, teamwork and, discipline and the dedication to duty in the military. And it transitions pretty seamlessly into law enforcement, because at the end of the day, it's just a different set of service. We're now serving our community rather than the nation. So ultimately, when we transition over, we're using a lot of those same things that we learned in the military to serve our community. And like the captain said, we may not be leaders in the department, but we're leading in the community. We need to solve some of the issues that people need assistance with, and they look to us to do that. So we respond and, take control the way we would with a mission in the military, and, bring that resolution out. I know Chief Clements is on the call. I heard his name earlier. He was there when I graduated the academy, and he saw some of that in me, picking me as a platoon leader in my academy class because of that prior experience in leading and, keeping the team together cohesive in order to accomplish the mission. So my hat's off to all the military veterans and current service members. We appreciate, all of the work that you've done and what you continue to do, because obviously, it doesn't stop with service. It continues on into whatever, new environment we go to. So, and thank you for the council for setting this call up. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So then I move to FP&L, my partner in co-sponsoring this meeting, nominated by the North Miami Beach Chamber and their executive director, Leslie Lowenthal. So Florida Power and Light is a great community supporter, as we've heard. And although We may always think of them as keeping our lights on. They have assisted our state in so many other ways, and just one of them is hiring the military. Chris Ferreira, whom you've already met, will share his company's thoughts on hiring military and introduce his military employee. So thank you, and I turn it over to you.
Did we lose Chris?
Chris, maybe you need to unmute.
Michael, do
Oh,
you?
can you hear me?
Yep, we
Can you
hear
hear me
you.
now?
There he is.
Sorry
All
about-
right,
sorry
Chris.
about that. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I was just saying that thank you, Doug, for the introduction, and it's our honor to be here today, and we're thankful to the North Miami Beach Chamber for nominating us as one of the companies for today's program. I just wanted to share a couple of quick facts before I introduce our veteran employee. At FPL and our parent company, NextEra Energy, we employ more than 2,000 veterans that have served in our nation's armed forces. And in addition to that, we also have established a Veterans at NextEra Energy Employee Resource Group, which is one of the company's largest and most engaged ERGs that really helps provide support and an opportunity for veterans to meet their fellow coworkers within the company that may have also served in the armed forces. The last thing I want to share is that in 2019, NextEra Energy was the only recipient in Florida of the U.S. Department of Labor's Hire Vets Platinum Medallion Award for excellence in hiring and retaining our veteran employees. And that's really something that we're very proud of, that we can give back to our community by helping employee veterans when they return home from their service. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Frank Cantero, who works in our customer service department, who is one of our veteran employees here today. Frank, are you on?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks, Chris. You know, it's great to work at Florida Power and Light. Being a Navy nuke veteran, I went through the ROTC program at Notre Dame, and like Tim mentioned, once you're a Navy nuke, just duty, self-sacrifice, and focus on the mission really helps you in whatever you do. And these characteristics that we have really don't go away once we transition out of the military. And what really helps, it just helps in civilian life. And you need a worthy mission, a mission where you're working just to feel engaged and to get that level of fulfillment. And really FPL and NextEra Energy really provide that kind of focus. And I'm just really fortunate to have had a military career and now have a career at NextEra Energy. Thank you, Admiral Watkins, for sharing those words. Really appreciate that. And thank you for the Chamber for having this event. I really appreciate it.
And now I'll turn the platform back to Chris as he recognizes other honorees.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug. We're honored to have 4 more businesses being honored today for their commitment to hiring the military. It's my pleasure to introduce our next honoree, Hotwire Communications, nominated by the Aventura Marketing Council and Chamber, and their president, Elaine Adler. Hotwire Communications has been expanding rapidly over the past few years, and one thing they have always had as a priority is to hire the military. I'm delighted to introduce Ron Rawl of Hotwire to tell us a little bit more about the company and then introduce their military employee to us.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Ron Rao, and I lead the engineering teams at Hotwire Communications. Hotwire is a voice, video, and data service provider to residential and commercial properties. But I digress. We're here to salute the military and thank everyone for their service. Kristen Karp, our CEO, Commissioner Howard Weinberg, and Hotwire Communications are proud to take part in today's event. On the call today, we have approximately 15 or more veteran employees, as well as many additional employees supporting today's salute to the military. My background has always been in technology, and as a significant part of that, I spent that with the Army Signal Corps. At Hotwire, we are first and foremost proud of our veteran employees and value the contributions they make to our organization each and every day. They bring to Hotwire the important traits that we desire in every employee, which, as others have mentioned, include leadership, teamwork, integrity, and the ability to overcome obstacles, just to name a few. In addition to strong personality traits, they also bring a strong background of technical training and other types of interpersonal skill training. And in addition, they have the direct experience of applying it in the real world, sometimes even under adverse or extreme conditions. With that said, we especially value their positive attitudes. And speaking of can-do attitudes, it's my pleasure to introduce our veteran employee, Richard Lida, who is our Wi-Fi architect. Richard, if you're there, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron, and thanks everybody for being on the call and recognizing the military, the troops, soldiers, personnel. I especially want to thank Rear Admiral Watkins for being an outstanding role model to all the communities, and I really appreciate the words you said today, even though it was Navy. So I was in the Army, I was on the tanks, served for 5 years. I was able to reach the non-commissioned officer rank of sergeant. So some of the things that I bring to mind as I work for Hotwire as a Wi-Fi architect is adapt and overcome. One of the things we learned in boot camp, on the first day of boot camp, is adapt and overcome. And as you heard before, it is about the ability to take a situation, regardless of how tough it may be, adapt to it. So in the world of business, as Hotwire is the fastest ISP in the Southeast, we have to move very fast to situations. An outage, internet and Wi-Fi now are a critical infrastructure piece. So when that goes down, we have to react. And so being able to adapt to the situation and then overcome means to find a business solution. In the military, in the Army, was to find a military a mission solution. In business, it's to find a solution that fits what will work for the business. It's not always money. It's not always more people. It's sometimes use what you have to find a solution within those parameters, right? And make it work for a business need. So those are the first two things that came to mind. Also, as a tanker, shoot, move, communicate. But perseverance, you've heard that as well. There's always going to be tough times in life. And some of the toughest times that I recall ever having was in the military. And when I'm going through civilian life and I hit a tough moment, I realize, Rich, it's not that bad. You've seen worse. So it's just a moment in time. So within any situation in the business environment, take a breath. It's okay, persevere, and things will get better on the other side. So those are the things that I try to bring to Hotwire. Take care of my troops. Always make sure you don't leave anybody behind. Is another big thing for me in the military. So once again, thank everybody for supporting me. Thank everybody at Hotwire for supporting me. Kristen, Ron, everybody on the teams. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you, Richard, for your service. Thank you, Hotwire, for your unwavering support of the military. And now the tables are turned as I have the honor of recognizing our meeting co-sponsor, Memorial Healthcare System, nominated by the Aventura Marketing Council and Chamber of Commerce, and their president, Elaine Adler.
Well, thank
Doug,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So anyway, so that I'm going to introduce someone that is very vital to what we do in our organization for the veterans and the Veterans Administration. And I've been the CEO for 14 years, and for the last 14 years on Veterans Day, I wear my uniform. And I thank all of the veterans who have served. And for Admiral Watkins, I was in Newport, Rhode Island as a newly minted ensign when Top Gun came out, and it was probably the greatest recruiting tool. And I went to Navy Hospital, Pensacola, where everything was about aviation. So thank you for your comments about that. And now I've been retired 22 years after 24 years. And so I would like to introduce our veteran today. She's a veteran of the Army, but more importantly, on our healthcare system, she is our navigator for our healthcare programs within Memorial for the Veterans Administration. So at this point in time, I'd like to introduce Maureen Mata. Maureen, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am. Can you see me, Doug?
I can.
Hello?
I can see you, Maureen.
Okay. Hello, I'm the Memorial Health System VA Navigator. The navigation program is pretty much designed to get eligible veterans, and they have to be registered with the VA. There's criteria. They have to have served 12 months and be honorably discharged. Then that can make them eligible and registered under a PCP with the VA. At that point, they're able to come into any Memorial hospital, and what we do is we connect with Miami VA. Why Miami VA? Because it's the closest to our catchment area. So any veteran coming in is tracked through me, and I let the VA in Miami know that they're there for continuity of care. They have access to our PHI, and they're able to go in, pull out the records to see what the treatment plan is for a smooth transition. We're also a preferred provider with Optum, which is a third-party administrator that's now handling all claims with the Miami VA, with the VA period. And we just signed a contract with them, so veterans can go ahead and pick any service line in the community once approved by the PCP and be seen. We have, for the last 4 years I've been doing this program, and we get, I would say, maybe over 100 in 3 months. And they come in, I let the VA know, the VA pull their records. If they come in through the ED, they get seen, they go to our urgent care, they get seen. And that's pretty much the program that we have at the Memorial System. But it's only for the Miami catchment area that we cover. We go up to 595. Yeah, the cutoff is 595. Anything north of that, then it's like North Broward and Holy Cross and stuff like that. But we handle Miami Gardens, pretty much part of Miami, and the whole central area for the full Memorial System.
Hey, can I interrupt just for 1 second? Maureen, we do have quite a few veterans out here online. Is there a phone number that would be convenient for you to share with everybody?
Yes, the number to reach me, it's 954-844-7126. A lot of veterans, they're not aware that they're eligible to choose their own specialists in the community that's closest to their home. So they feel that they have to go to Miami to get service, but they can tell their primary care physician they prefer to go to Memorial. We have the Moffitt Cancer Center here, so we get a lot of oncology because veterans prefer to use Moffitt Cancer. That's usually with out of Tampa, but we partner with them here as well.
Can you repeat that number just one more time for everybody?
954-844-7126. You can also go on our website, and the navigation program is there as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug and Maureen, for your service and also for the work you're doing to help communities in our veterans in our community. We salute you. The next introduction is the Miami Beach Police Department, nominated by the Miami Beach Chamber and their CEO, Jerry Liven. We've had the pleasure of working with Miami Beach Police Chief Rick Clements before, and we not only thank him for his service to our community, but also for ensuring that his police department hires the military. Chief Clements, tell us why you hire the military, and then please introduce your military employee.
Good afternoon, everyone, and obviously thank you for participating for asking us to participate in this event. It's truly an honor to obviously be nominated and to come on board and talk to you a little bit about why we actively recruit our military personnel. As Captain DeJean, who happens to be an NA grad with me a few years ago, will clearly say is that you find a level of commitment and a level of loyalty that's within the military that's second to none. And Admiral Watkins talked a little bit about that in his presentation earlier, but it's been my not only my 30-year experience here with Miami Beach to have seen the people who are hired from the military really rise to a level that others seem not to do, simply because of that loyalty and that commitment to excellence. And with that, something that Mayor Weissman said earlier, I have the privilege, if you will, of talking a little bit about not only a lieutenant who works for the Miami Beach Police Department, who retired as a acting first sergeant in his career with the military, but also a friend. Lieutenant Howdy Matias joined the United States Marine Corps right out of high school in 1988. He went right to his deployment and was a integral part, if you will, in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, which is the first Gulf War. He served there honorably. When he returned back, he ended up going into the Marine Corps Reserve, if you will, in 2000, where he changed his branch of service and joined the United States Army and continued his military service in Army Intelligence Branch. He spent 8 years in the Army Reserve, where as a reservist, he was deployed overseas Operation Iraqi Freedom. He spent 18 months there. So you can see that from the span of time that he went from, graduating from high school all the way through his eventual retirement later on in the 2000s, that Javi was devoted, committed to defending his country and the principles by which it stands. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Javi Matias and let him talk a little bit about what his military experience has meant to his role and his eventual ascension, if you will, to the rank of lieutenant at the Miami Beach Police Department.
Good afternoon, everyone. Clap if you can hear me one time. Kidding, I'm just using my military skills, my command presence. Listen, I'm extremely blessed to be employed by the city of Miami Beach Police Department. I'm also very honored that our city and our chief of police are very supportive of military personnel and vets. 1/3 of our police department is former military veterans and active reserve members. So that's an honor and a testament to the way that our department treats our vets. I've had an illustrious career here thanks to my training and knowledge and skills that I've gotten from the military that have been able to segue into what I do every day, from teamwork, working with other people and showing them how to do their job by using the skills that I learned in the military. The commitment, everybody knows that commitment that you make to the military, that you sign on the dotted line. So, you're committed. Well, in the police department, you don't sign on the dotted line for a 4-year enlistment. This is a lifetime or a service, almost like a priest, a purpose-driven job. And here you learn so many skills that from what I learned in the military as working in intelligence field, working with foreign forces, working with foreign intelligence services and other nationals, that all of that segues to what I do here in the department, from gathering intelligence on the type of investigations that I want to conduct, or how I treat people who I come into contact every day. I mean, the skills that we learned in the military, the training that I received, far none. I think that it should be, and I hate to sound militant, it should be every child should have some sort of military service, because it does, I tell you, it makes a difference. I heard a lot of saying when I was in the Marine Corps and then in the Army, they made me, well, my father made me a man, but the military gave me a purpose. So I'm blessed and I'm honored and I'm thankful. I dropped last week, so I'm in the drop. So I'm very fortunate, and I hold a dear spot for all the guys who are still serving in the military right now, because I've been in a couple of combat tours, but they've had it worse than us with the IEDs and a lot of the things that are occurring. So I hold a prayer for them, and I thank you for allowing me and my chief and my city to represent this organization and show you that we're also very supportive of veterans. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Chief Clements and Lieutenant and the outstanding Miami Beach Police Department. The next honoree is PS Mortgage Lending, nominated by the Coral Gables Chamber and their CEO, Mark Trowbridge. Congratulations are in order for Phil Stevenson, owner of PS Mortgage Lending, for recently winning the Coral Gables Chamber's Rising Star Award. Phil, please unmute yourself and share some info about your company and introduce your military employee.
Thank you all very much. My name is Phil Stevenson, owner of PS Mortgage Lending, also known as Mortgage Nerd. So my online persona, if you see my videos, I'm a veteran of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, OEF, which is why I have my picture of me there in front of one of the Saddam paintings. Aside from what we do, we offer veterans the lowest rates of anybody, 2.375 without any points, which is very difficult to do. I also hire people like Judd Brown, who I'll introduce in a minute. And I have multiple spouses of veterans here in our company. We're a very small company. Part of what I want to talk about, I liked what, sorry, I forgot his name. I think it was Richard Lyda. I said adapt and overcome. That's been our business, the mortgage business. 2008, we had to adapt and overcome. Now, again, we have to adapt and overcome and find ways. And now, of course, the mortgage industry is doing very well. But I want to talk about something political, kind of. Veterans are not a protected class in Florida. We are in 4 different states. So what's happening is in the mortgage and real estate industry, we're being discriminated against. How? If a seller's selling a property, they can say, we don't want VA mortgages. So it's something I know there's a senator on here that we should talk about a little bit more. I know Mark Trowbridge and I, when we went up to DC last year, we talked about it with some of the politicians there. But it's something I want to make people aware of and something we do need to address as all of us as veterans, is that we shouldn't be discriminated against because we get a benefit from the government of 0% down on a VA mortgage. With that being said, I want to introduce Judd Brown, who's a former Air Force as well and works in my company. So Judd, go ahead and unmute yourself and say something.
How are you, everyone? Very nice to meet you. Again, Judd, J-U-D-D Brown, originally from New York. Joined the military back in the early 90s, Air Force, police. Did a little presidential security, assigned to a special duty assignment up in Colorado. I started late in the military. I started at 21, had a kid at 16. So I was more of I'd say the more mature person in the military at the time. It definitely taught me how to hone skills on the ability to become disciplined. And, the old saying, if you're 5 minutes early, you're 2 minutes too late. That's just, unfortunately, a lot of people today don't understand timing is impeccable. The mortgage industry, I've been in for almost 20 years now. And, me and Phil, we bounce ideas off each other because we understand each other and where we come from. It's unfortunate that in today's society, like Phil mentioned, I notice a lot of listings do not want VA loans. And it's a shame because typically VA loans are actually a little smoother way to go instead of doing it the other way. And the benefits are not being used the way they should be. I'm actually also in law enforcement as well for 29 years. And I have my master's. So I wouldn't be able to do any of that if I didn't have the discipline that I was learned in the military. And, an MSW and 2,000 clinical hours were very difficult to achieve while working. But again, unfortunately, we need to get more support out there for the military vets and law enforcement. I know this is a military vets, but being that I'm in law enforcement, we need to get more support for our, servicemen out there So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Judd, for your service, and thank you to Phil from PS Mortgage Lending. Ladies and gentlemen, President Truman said, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our underlying gratitude. And one way we can show our gratitude is to hire the military and their spouses. Remember, be a hero, hire a hero." With that said, I'll turn it over back to Gary.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Doug. I think we can all agree on the content of today's meeting was to thank our military, our supporters, those organizations that were nominated and recognized this afternoon, and all of our guests that were here, and especially Rear Admiral Larry Watkins. So congratulations to all the businesses that were recognized today. We know there are many more throughout Dade and Broward County that were not recognized today, but it is our intent to recognize as many on an annual basis as we can here at the Marketing Council and Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to our meeting sponsors, Doug and Chris, and our participating sponsor, Peter with the ESGR. And without, as I said before, thank you for your time, Rear Admiral Watkins, and your words today. And thank you for everything that you do in the protection of our country and our citizens. Thank you to our participating chambers, in which I mentioned before, we surpassed the 100 participation today at one point. I've been keeping an eye on it during the course of the meeting. So thank you to everybody that took the time out today and participate. And thank you, everybody, on all of those that took the time out today to participate with us on this Zoom meeting. As I said, it's a little bit different than it has been in the past, but no matter what goes on, there's no reason to not continue traditions that we have and to thank those that help us and protect us. So thank you to all of the men and women who serve and protect. With that being said, I think, Michael, there's one more closing video for us, and then as my friend Mayor Enid Weissman is there. I see her, as we always say to our meetings, please be safe, please be careful, and Mayor, please wear your mask. Michael?
When a member of the Guard or Reserve is called up for active duty, they leave behind a family, a community, and a job. Honoring the bond between service members and their civilian employers is what led to the creation of ESGR, Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for being part of this great.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Be safe, be healthy, and thank you to everybody for taking the time out today. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
And thank you, Elaine. Great job.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.